as always, we're getting started once again here in our LCMC Health Wellness Lounge because we are talking about back to school again. Today, it's all about vaccines. Which ones do kids really need? And why should people be getting vaccines? We are answering all those questions today with our first guest. Please help me welcome back Dr. Nailah Gallego Clemmons from Children's Hospital. Hello, darling.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you so much for coming back. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation yesterday about physical exams. If you missed that, greatdaylouisiana.com. But today we're talking all about vaccinations, something that I believe is very important, not only that kids get, but adults get as well. Mm-hmm. Let's first talk about a vaccine though. When somebody gets a vaccine, what's actually happening?
So I like to think of vaccines as kind of a form of medicine. So when we do get vaccines, they kind of help our immune system fight infection. So we have antibodies that are being developed to fight infections that we may be exposed to in the future.
And you know, some people are like, you're giving me the virus, but it's deactivated. Is that true in some cases?
It is. So there are live vaccines and vaccines that are not live, but the actual vaccine can never cause an infection. Mm-hmm. It'll just help your immune system respond to the infection in
and
the
hopefully
future.
prevent it as well,
Yes,
which is
correct.
so important. And you know, there are so many different vaccines out there. Many kids need to get, I believe what they're like 14 common diseases vaccinations can prevent. What are some of the ones that kids need to get before they go back to school?
So there are a number of vaccines, and it usually depends on the child's age. Usually we start off at the newborn stage with the hepatitis B vaccine, and then they get that sequence along with other vaccines in that first year of life. Other vaccines that we typically give are the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine and varicella, as well as hepatitis A. But the list goes on, but it really depends on the child's age. And at what point they've gotten their last vaccine.
Is it the more older they get, the more vaccines they have to get, or is it less?
Not necessarily, it's less actually.
Okay,
so
great.
Usually in those first 2 years of life, the children are getting a lot of vaccines, and it kind of decreases as they get older, and usually at the age of about 11, 12, they get that set of vaccines, and then the next time they need them is at the 16-year-old visit, unless they get like the flu vaccine or COVID vaccine in between that.
And let's talk about the COVID vaccine, because I was surprised to find out that the COVID vaccine isn't necessarily a mandated vaccine that children have to get before they go to school in Louisiana?
It hasn't been yet. It's not a requirement at this point, but it is still highly recommended. We are still seeing cases of the COVID infection even now.
No, it's so true. It is still out there, everybody.
Yes.
So do what you can to protect yourself and your families. Now, when it comes to getting the vaccines, can we get them all at the same time? Or is it one visit we get this one, then one visit we get two? Like, how does that work?
So you can give vaccines all at the same time. Now there are vaccines that we kind of put together into one shot, and so usually
I like that.
So it prevents the amount of shots that a child gets at a visit. So usually, for the most part, in that first year of life, they're getting multiple vaccines at once, and it's safe for that to happen.
That is good to know. You know, there's a lot of literature out there about vaccines. Does it cause this? Does it do this? One thing that a lot of people have read about is the link between vaccines and autism. I can't believe some people believe that. That's just untrue.
Yes, that is a concern for some families, but there has been research done to look into this, and there hasn't been a proven link between autism and vaccines.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you let us know about that. When it comes to getting the shots, right, let's be honest, some of these needles look a little long, okay? What is your advice for parents who maybe have children who are like, oh my God, the needle's so big? And how do you all as pediatricians help with that?
So oftentimes the parents are aware if the child needs vaccines before the visit. So oftentimes the parents have conversations with their children to kind of prepare them for those shots. We do work with our staff to help ensure that the children are as comfortable as possible prior to getting the vaccine, and kind of reassure them that it's just a quick pinch, and it's helping them to be safer and healthier and prevent infection in the future.
So good. good to know. Let's be honest, so there are some side effects that we may feel when we get these vaccines. What are some of the common ones?
So the common side effects are typically pain where the shot took place, or swelling or redness, low-grade fevers, as well as fussiness. But there are things that we can do to help relieve these symptoms using like a warm washcloth in that area. Afterwards, not directly after, when the symptoms usually develop. It is helpful, but all of these signs are a good thing. It shows that the vaccine is actually working and the child is becoming a little bit more safer by developing that immune response to the vaccine.
And Dr. Clemmons, I want to ask you this. If somebody does not get vaccinated, what are some of the risks?
So one of the risks are being exposed to infections that we don't usually see. For instance, like measles, chickenpox, and whooping cough. Another risk is getting infected but having more serious complications. And an example of that is the flu. With all of these illnesses, it can lead to hospitalization and serious complications. And the third thing is that it will lead to prevention of the infection. So say a child or someone doesn't have a vaccine, and if they have the infection, they're kind of exposing other people who either aren't old enough to get the vaccine, for instance, babies, or who just can't get the vaccine in general. They're exposing them to those diseases as well.
And say I do have my vaccination, right, and I'm exposed to the virus or the illness. Am I not going to get the infection, or because I have the vaccination, I'm more likely to either see less symptoms or beat it faster than somebody who does not have?
So both of those are actually true.
Okay.
So instances where your immune system develops a reaction, it can fight the infection before you even see any symptoms, or you may just experience a mild form of the infection.
Good to know. Well, look, I want to thank you, Dr. Clemmons, for joining us the last 2 days. Happy back to school season to everybody. We're talking more about it coming up on tomorrow's show. But if you want more questions about how to prepare your child for back to school season when it comes to their health, chnola.org.